Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Culture of Change. Abby, we have to replace that song, but I don't want to.
I know.
I think you should sing it. I think you should sing it so we can still use it, but it won't be copyrighted.
It might still be.
We're going to change it up. We'll change the lyrics.
We'll change it enough.
Oh, so hi, YouTube. We're not monetized over there anymore, but please hit the like button for us. Helps us out quite a bit. We have a fun show planned tonight. We spend a good amount of time on this show doing industry spotlights and kind of talking about the transformation happening and that has happened in different industries that brings us here. And tonight, we're going to talk about media and entertainment. We also on this network spend a lot of time talking shit about legacy media. And tonight, we have a member of the legacy media joining us. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And let's see. We have a couple of sponsors to hear from off the top. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll get into it.
All right. Stack Stats with River, the Bitcoin-only platform built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Why River? 0 free recurring buys. Stack Bitcoin effortlessly, hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly. 3.5% Bitcoin interest on cash. FDIC insured. No minimums. Withdraw anytime. Expert US-based support, human help, plus private client service for big buys. 100K plus. Business accounts, boost your balance sheet with Bitcoin and earn 3.5% paid in Bitcoin. Top tier wallets, send, receive, and manage Bitcoin securely, unmatched security, full reserve custody, multitasking, cold storage, and proof reserves. Join the Bitcoin revolution at badlandsmedia.tv/river and earn real returns. That's badlandsmedia.tv/river. And your crypto deserves the ultimate protection, and Trezor delivers just that. Trezor offers a secure and user-friendly solution for managing your digital assets. Delivers on its promise of robust security, providing a crucial layer of protection against online threats and unauthorized access. Since 2014, over 2 million users have trusted Trezor, the world's first hardware wallet to secure their Bitcoin, Ethereum, and over 9,000 other coins and tokens. With state-of-the-art encryption and offline storage, Trezor keeps your assets safe from hackers, malware, and exchange breaches. Its open source design ensures transparency, while the Trezor Suite app makes managing your portfolio a breeze. Buy, sell, swap, and track with ease. Designed with simplicity in mind, Trezor ensures that even those new cryptocurrency can navigate its features with ease. With Trezor, you can confidently manage your cryptocurrencies, knowing that your digital wealth is protected by industry-leading security protocols. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/Trezor. Get your Trezor and safeguard your crypto with confidence. That's badlandsmedia.tv/Trezor. Thank you so much.
That word is so hard to say.
I know, Trezor. It's a tongue twister.
It kind of sounds like treasure, but it's not. And it's Trezor for folks. All right. So we're going to talk about radio versus podcasting and all sorts of fun stuff. Our guest this evening is a iHeartMedia executive producer and a radio host here in Colorado. And as I put in the show notes, which I didn't publish yet, I'll do it after the show. Shit, I just lost my joke. My joke just fell out of my head. Oh no, I remembered it. If you play the Ashe Says Colorado drinking game, you're going to get really drunk tonight.
Oh no.
We're going to talk about Tina Peters. We're going to talk about, the transformation happening in media and what does We Are the News Now mean and all of those good things. Welcome everyone to the show. Ryan Schuiling. What's up, dude?
Hello.
Welcome. Nice to meet you.
Hi there. Good to see you.
Oh, this is Abbey.
Hi, Abbey.
Oh, I'm just Abbey. Just Ashe's coat.
This is my right there.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Other side. Yeah.
Tis I.
All right. So tell everybody about yourself.
I'm gonna start there. Okay. I'm a Michigan native. I'm wearing my Lions gear here. And I've lived in Denver for 7.5 years. Originally came here to produce the Dan Caplis show, something I'm still doing. And then eventually went into the 2 to 4 p.m. Slot on 630 KHOW, which is all part of iHeart. And then ultimately, after the first of the year here, started with the morning slot, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. So I went from 2 hours to 4. And so I need to fill in with great guests like Ashe up on occasion, so I'll turn to her. But yeah, we've been doing some really exciting things in that time slot recently, including tonight. I can announce, it was not only just about an hour ago, my good friend, and I say that very sarcastically, comrade Kyle Clark, 9 News, led 9 Next with my interview from earlier today, which, Ashe, I have to hat tip you for setting that up.
My pleasure.
With the lawyer for Tina Peters. So we are, to your kind of broad opening point there, we're setting the trend and upstream of a lot of the mainstream media, and that's where I like to reside, kind of driving the news cycle and forcing those in the mainstream, which generally are left of center, to react to us, react to me, react to the two of you. And I think we've been gaining a lot of momentum along those lines.
Yeah. So big news here is Tina Peters on Friday filed a appeal in her federal habeas claim. Everybody, I don't know if everybody, but most of the audience should be familiar with Kyle Clark because they're familiar with the Tina Peters story and the Mike Lindell story. Mm. And Kyle's a douche and he's a douche. And that kind of is what it is. But you had, I think it was your first time interacting with Tina's counsel this morning. Let's start there. I was going to start with the industry stuff, but let's start with the Tina Peters story, because I feel like you're kind of newer to the Tina Peters story, at least the kind of details and the background, the specific charges. What has your opinion on Tina Peters evolved at all, or has because it's, I mean, my opinions on Tina Peters are nuanced and my own, and I don't think anybody else shares them entirely. How have yours evolved over time in this story? Of course, Tina Peters, 9 years in prison for lying to Jenna Griswold, who lies to us all the time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've always thought it was an extreme sentence, especially when you cast it against the backdrop of the completely incompetent would be the fair reading, the favorable reading on Jenna Griswold and her performance in office as Secretary of State. But the deeper, darker read would be that it's intentionally corrupt and that she knows what she's doing. And she hasn't suffered any consequences, political or otherwise, other than the wrath of 9 News and Kyle Clark, where he basically called on her to resign because she's just completely bumbling her job. But as far as Tina's concerned, always thought it was a harsh sentence, always wanted to keep an open mind, always wanted to hear her side of the story. And what really stood out to me in my conversation today with John Case, her attorney, was that she was really the fall guy for a lot of this. And I've had conversations with you, Ashe, about it. I think Tina has become a convenient scapegoat, really for both sides in this. Yep. She was not alone going into the 2020 election and the post-mortem analysis of that and what was going on. She thought she was flanked by allies like Mike Lindell, and again, according to you in a conversation we had, Representative Lauren Boebert, and it would appear that
not according to me, according to Tina Peters on the stage at the sheriff's convention.
Right, but you were there, is what I'm saying.
I wasn't there. I just covered it.
When I say that, I mean, who are the reliable reporters that are on site to account for it? And obviously, you'd be one of those. And it wasn't just spoken into the wind.
No, it's on video. Nobody ever reports these things. This is what's maddening. Is that there's a whole public record here. That so I went on your show on Friday, and I said elections were fake, and I thought lightning was going to strike. Or something. It was I told John, because John was like, what was it like being in a radio studio? And I'm like, I was very conscious of saying like allegedly and in my opinion, and allegedly. I'm gonna get in trouble. Like I'm gonna say something that's gonna get me or you in trouble.
Well, to that point, I mean, I'll speak freely here because IDGAF, but Randy Corcoran
here you can don't give a fuck. You can actually.
Well, you just did it for me. I do not give a solitary fuck. So Randy Corcoran, Matt Dunn were very aggressive in their coverage of this story, the election in general, on Salem. And they were smacked with a lawsuit by Dominion, and there was a bloodletting. And both Corcoran and Dunn were done. I mean, they were fired, let go, cast aside. And really, it was an ominous sign, because that was the beginning of the end, really, of local content on KNUS. That's our primary competitor in the market for Salem. And that's 710 on the AM dial. They were local programming 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. prior to that. They booted those two. Stephen Tubbs leaves. Peter Boyles goes into quasi-retirement. They come back with a morning show, but everything else was syndicated and bleeding out to national programming. And I think a lot of it was spurred on by unfavorable coverage of Dominion voting systems. And there was a definite chilling effect. So when I go back in time, in real time, when, say, Dan Kaplis and myself were trying to analyze this case, I always kind of minded my P's and Q's the way that you say you did, Ash, on my program on Friday, which is, allegedly, or this is my opinion, or what I'm thinking, not stating things overtly as fact if I didn't have the evidence to back it up. And there would be things, and I say this to you, and I say this on my show, that there are things I think and feel and believe about the 2020 election, but I haven't done the work that you have, and I don't have the evidence to support it. And therefore, it's not what I know, it's what I can prove on the air. And I have to have that burden of proof, that high bar for my listeners. Otherwise, I feel like I'm either misleading them or giving them false hope. And that last one I really don't want to do, because I remember feeling that way during the whole Hillary email scandal, when Sean Hannity, who I'm not a fan of, was constantly just pumping up. Hillary's going to jail. Hillary's going to get prosecuted. Hillary this, that, and the other thing. And she didn't. And I just felt duped and misled. And unlike MSNBC viewers of Rachel Maddow, I don't like that feeling. And I don't like giving that feeling to anybody listening to my show. I want them to come to my show knowing that if I say something is fact, that they can count on that. And again, that's a very high bar and standard. So when you came in, Ash, I wanted to lean on your research, your knowledge, your expertise, your set of facts. And if you say that you believe something based on that, I think you framed it quite well. And we're not getting in trouble for that. But you do have to be careful. You do.
Yeah. So what I heard you say is, in the wake of, I don't know what years we're talking about, but August 2021, Tina Peters' office is raided. That, the indictment comes down in, I think, late 2022. And throughout that period of time, some people, Randy Corcoran is a good example, reported the story. And not just what Jenna Griswold said, but actually reported on, Dominion voting systems and the Mesa reports and those kinds of things. And I think what I'm hearing you say is that he was punished for that. And anybody, right? I mean, Peter Boyles was never a friend of Tina Peters, but no. Randy Corcoran was.
Yeah. And Randy paid a price, a heavy one, as did Matt Dunn, because Salem, had they not done that and kind of showed that they're willing to sacrifice two of their own, I think Dominion might have gone the entire way and bankrupted Salem. I mean, they were on a mission to squash anybody that came out and disparaged, besmirched the reputation of Dominion, and whether it was warranted or not, they were flexing their muscles in court. They were bringing a lot of high-priced lawyers to I got to say that these radio outfits, even iHeart, which is like top of the charts, they don't have the money, nor do they have the wherewithal or the desire to go in the legal system and battle in the courts for one of their on-air talents. They're just going to cut them loose and say, you're not worth the effort. You're not worth the problem. The headache that you brought.
Just any story though.
What?
We're not just talking about any story and not being willing to go head to head on any story. We're talking about our democracy, right? We're talking about the election, and in the wake of the election and in the years since, there were investigations. We see just the news is out today with more reporting on the seizing of records from Maricopa County. There were people, and goes to the 2024 election. Runback Election Services again is acting as an arm of the government with zero oversight. There's no chain of custody on these ballots, and we're not allowed to talk about it. And if you try, you'll lose your livelihood, is what I heard you. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what I heard you say. That's really gross. And that's when we look at, like, heading into the golden age and what is the transformation of media look like? It can't be that. We can't ever allow the speech code stuff that we've lived through over the past, and we, like, you're in the space now with people who have been canceled for what they have said over and over and over again. Abby, how did you tell us about your channels?
Yeah, I mean, just if you speak against any of the main narrative, you're gonna get a warning on YouTube. 3 strikes, you're out, you're gone, and it's wild because you're like, I'm in America. What's going on here? I thought freedom of speech was something we cherished here. So yeah, no, it's something that we've all dealt with here. And I mean, it's hard when you have to choose to do that balance as well. Do I speak the truth? Do I lose my job? And those types of things. So
yeah, and we're not going back to that. We're not going back to the Ministry of Truth and the misdis and malinformation and all of that. We're gonna mock them to their faces.
I love it. Punch right through, Ashe. She's punching right through.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it matters. And that's the thing about the Tina Peters story that is like, I mean, obviously, I think everybody knows it's like the most important story to me. One, because I've lived it since the beginning, but 2, because everybody's lying. Like everybody has an angle and everybody has a part of the story and often puts themselves into it and has this, I don't know, telling the version of the truth they want to be, the version of the story they want to be the truth rather than the truth. Like, Tina Peters did nothing wrong. Now I can make I can twist myself into a pretzel to make that argument that, she did is the lesser 2 of evil. I don't even have to twist myself into a pretzel. It's lesser of 2 evils. But that's like, it's much easier to say, yeah, this is what happened. I mean, she stipulated to it at trial. So it's just storytelling. It's so detached. The stories being told are so detached from the facts that it's, I mean, I feel like the truth matters and not somebody's version of event, but the actual record of the truth. And, we're getting, I think, closer to that, which is nice. And, the federal appeal of the habeas, that was the breaking news part of this was Friday. They filed that. So that's appealing the First Amendment claims and the Younger abstention. The Younger abstention said that the federal courts couldn't get involved until the matter was exhausted at the state courts. They're arguing that they read that wrong and appealing to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I'm crazy. Now I've totally messed up my show flow because we were going to do this like the E block that we just did first. So yeah, good time.
That's okay. Right. We don't need order here.
I know it's we're all over the place. So let's talk. I want to read a little bit of this because let's talk about media generally and then get into, I want to talk about radio and kind of where the challenges are and all of that kind of stuff. But I pulled this is from a year ago. This is PwC's Unleashing Agility in a Rapidly Changing World, and it's focused on the global entertainment and media outlook. For 26 years, and this, of course, the links to everything that we discussed tonight will be in the show notes, asheamerica.substack.com, as per usual. They're not up yet, though, because I forgot to do them. For 26 years, we have been charting the growth and expansion of the highly dynamic entertainment and media industry. We see that from 2025 expected outlook, 2025 to 2029, revenues will rise 5.5% to $2.9 trillion. So it's growing. Here's the trends they see. Regulatory changes and tariffs constitute a significant growth headwind. One of the things that I found was really interesting in looking at the market sizing of this is that the US and China are the leaders. I'm looking for the numbers here. So the market is global market value of media and entertainment is $111.2 billion. And of that, 30 billion is the US and 25.9 billion is China. And they're gaining on us. And then when you consider like Chinese acquisitions of US media assets, local media resources, all that kind of stuff that's going on, it's kind of crazy. The other big insight of this, which I think is Abbey kind of, personal to us, is it's a fundamental challenge to convince consumers to allocate a larger share of their discretionary income to media and entertainment. Everybody wants it for free. Everybody wants all the content for free. And that's a real challenge because you have to rely on advertisers and, kind of we put our money where our morals are here. And we only advertise. We only have advertisers on the network that are America First, America Small Business Owners and all that kind of stuff. But the market is changing and it's kind of exciting, right? We say in this movement a lot of the times, we are the news now. Now, I don't know that, anybody at Badlands really wants to be the news. Certainly entertainment, right? We're always entertaining ourselves here on the network. And that's the fun of it. But I don't know, like it's seeing. So Ryan, I want to know, like you were in radio and not just in radio, but in the studio during COVID. And in my kind of estimation of how the world has changed, COVID was a catalyst in every industry for massive transformation. What was that like being inside iHeart at the time of COVID?
Well, it was kind of like when the Bobs came in the movie Office Space and they were determining who was essential personnel and who was expendable. And they had that series of interviews. And obviously, I was one of these glue guys that was keeping programming on the air. Our hosts were doing their shows remotely. It was a ghost town. And prior to COVID, we had a tremendous amount of support staff and just people that were not only helping with sales, but with marketing and promotions and logistics. And once COVID hit and those people were sent home, many of them were laid off. Some of them came back. Many of them did not. Some of them that came back got laid off again, and then their jobs were just eliminated. They were terminated. And so for me, it was kind of like Hunger Games. You're watching people that you like that are determined not to be essential personnel going forward because during COVID, iHeart figured it out. They were coming out of bankruptcy around that time too. And that's been another challenge for a lot of these big media conglomerates. Cumulus just filed for bankruptcy. Not that long ago. They're a big giant. Clear Channel sold out to iHeart, and even then, iHeart went bankrupt. So by the time the whole COVID crap was over and everybody returned to work, there was hardly anybody there. It was just a really threadbare, bare bones staff, sales, some of the E-suite type people, the on-air people, but that was it. I mean, there was a lot more diversification within the individual roles, including my own. And I'm sure it's not unique to radio that a lot of businesses did that. It was a total bloodletting. And so many people got let go during COVID. And those jobs never came back, and they're not coming back. And it kind of goes to, I think, the theme of this exercise with radio is you either adapt or die. It's like you said, Ash, we used to subscribe when we were younger, the newspapers, you'd pay money. Or a magazine subscription, you'd pay money. But everybody wants their online content for free. Well, who's going to create that content? They're not going to do it for free. But people are reticent, it's a paywall or whatever. Like, okay, well, you want your content for free. You're going to get what you pay for. So now you got college kids coming up just looking for an opportunity. They'll do it for next to nothing, and they're undercutting wages. And, the newspapers are going out of business. Radio stations are going out of business. So what do? In this space, we adapt to more of a format and platform like you guys have, which is podcasting, trying to monetize those, putting those online, the way people, and especially younger people now, consume their media, listen. They're not turning on the radio in their cars ever at all. They don't do it. So how do you reach them? Well, you got to go where they are. And, iHeart and the rest of the multimedia universe, they're still figuring that out. I had to kind of show some innovation with my podcast. So when you see it, there are tones that are inserted for ads that we can sell, but it's a harder sell to the traditional advertisers out there. Let's say in the Denver market, what are they buying? Well, it's digital. What is that? How do I measure it? So there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of education that still needs to take place. And I have opened that space up on my podcast to try to create some kind of value added for these advertisers. What are they getting more than just the radio over the air in the moment ads? Well, they're getting these recurring ads that people listen to at their convenience, their leisure. But again, we're still way behind the curve on that. And that's been paralyzing this industry.
Yeah, it's become way more decentralized, and so for the it's the I talk about this on the show quite a bit, but the starfish and the spider problem, because you have the ability now for Abbey and Abby's in Alaska, I'm here in Colorado, we can jump on and do a show together. We don't need the brick and mortar, we don't need all the infrastructure, we don't have a whole bunch of producers. We have tooling, we have great tooling that has replaced a lot of what you would have had to be human jobs previously, but it made it way more accessible for us to do what we do. And that's part of that's happening to every industry and conglomerate, but massive players, global corporations are going to have the Napster MGM Studios problem. You're going to be playing whack-a-mole. You're going to try to defeat the enemy. You're going to take us all to court, right? And all of the things in fight, but while you're fighting to preserve the status quo, not you, but like the global corporations, while they're fighting to preserve the status quo, the industry is transforming right before their eyes. And then you wake up and you're like, oh shit, who are all these feral podcasters that have more Twitter followers than I do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the truth though, because I was thinking about it. You also have these young people, and I'm not saying like you have to like have a PhD to be a professional broadcaster, but you'll have these kids that'll come out and make, here's my take on this, and it's edgy, and then that goes viral when, let's say, maybe like a news station or a radio station might have a level take on it, but that's not going to get out there. And nobody's going to get paid for that with it. And so I do see the problem where the narrative is going to be like pushed by who knows what, is it even vetted? And so it's something to think about.
And then there's the thing like podcaster, blogger, journalist versus influencer, right? Like, are you creating content that's based on ideas and whether it's related to the news or more like this show, like looking kind of at macro trends in society, having discussions about idea, or are you there for the photo op? Are you just pushing and the clickbait headlines and all of that kind of stuff? There's so much noise in it in the communications space right now. There's a lot of noise, but there's a lot of really good stuff too. I think.
I agree.
There's so much, that word, I hate it so much, but it's apropos, influencer. When I hear influencer, I hear, the grift is on with somebody like Candace Owens. And she's just looking for rage bait and heat and clicks. And in pro wrestling, they call it cheap heat. She's playing to an audience. She's throwing them red meat. Doesn't have to be based in fact, truth, any kind of journalistic standards whatsoever. And that's the thing, Ash, big thing, is there would be journalistic ethics and standards enforced, whether it's my newsroom. We go in there, we're constantly talking about how do we maintain our credibility. We can't lose that. And it matters. It means something in that newsroom. It does in newspaper newsrooms. But now you've got...
Does it in 9 News?
What's that?
Does it at 9 News? Does journalistic integrity factor into the reporting at 9 News?
Well,
does journalistic integrity factor into any of the reporting about Donald Trump for the past 10 years?
Well, maybe not in a lot of these, you're right, but it's their sphere of influence, right? So let's talk about 9 News for a moment. Let's talk about Kyle Clark for a moment. Why is he so big and why does he do what he does? And what vein is he tapping into? Well, it's the Denver Boulder corridor. And there's a bunch of libs who turn to him for confirmation bias. They're not looking for news or honest journalism, or maybe Tina Peters has a point. It's to demonize her, to get into their self-congratulatory sphere where they can go to their cocktail parties and, piss on somebody like Tina Peters and she's white trash, or you know how these people are. That's how they are. These are coastal liberal elites who have shown up in Denver and Boulder, who have claimed the territory, and now they just enjoy the snobbery of each other's company. And that's Kyle Clark too. And he is preaching to the choir. They are buying what he's selling. And it just so incidentally maybe occurs into the realm of journalism once in a while. But you're right. It's not a standard that he adheres to. And it's fake
no,
news.
it's not. And that was set nationally. It was fine. They were fine breaking all of the rules in the era of Trump. And now they're scrambling because nobody trusts them anymore. And that's true for
media. They shouldn't trust them.
It's 100%. 100% agree with you. But I don't think that, I think that what you just described is like the most benevolent reading of what Kyle Clark is doing. I personally think that Kyle Clark protects the state. That's his job. It's to protect the state. And then they say, well, hang on a second, Ash. He went against Jenna Griswold, right? He took her down with the BIOS passwords. He helped the state manage the crisis. And Jenna Griswold is a puppet and a retard. Okay. Jenna Griswold is not the expert on elections. All you have to do is listen to her speak or ask her a pointed question about how elections work. And you'll find that she is there, I think, to either be, the next level in the performative politician space that she grabs a hold of, or to be the scapegoat. Because Jenna Griswold didn't run that office. Chris Beall ran that office during the wake of the 2020 election up through just the beginning of last year. And then that office, that role, that Deputy Secretary of State role that was filled by Chris Beall. And during my trial, he testified that he was where the buck stopped on decisions in that, and he managed all of the staff, and he was the guy in charge. Now that role, very quietly, by the way, we Becky, who I don't know if Becky's in the chat listening, but one of our awesome Mountain States Badlanders, Becky, noticed on one of the press releases at CDOS that the name of the Deputy Secretary of State had changed. There was no press releases. There were no announcements made. They just quietly swapped him out. And it's Andrew Klein, former Perkins Coie guy, shoring up for battle with the federal government, in my opinion. And these are facts, right? The change in Deputy Secretary of State, facts. But Kyle Clark isn't going to tell that story. Nobody else is going to tell that story except for us, jumping up and down screaming. And then it's, people notice it and they're like, oh, and then it's gone.
Well, that's a very key point you bring up, the filtering of the news cycle. I was shocked to learn that he opened with a snippet of my show. He hates me. He hates that I call him Comrade Kyle. He doesn't want to attribute me or credit me or say my name on air, but they have to credit it when I have an interview like Ash, you furnished me with. But there's also the issue of a candidate on our side. I don't know how your listeners or your audience feels about him. Victor Marks in the governor's race.
I don't think they know about him at all. Yeah, I don't think people know about Victor Marks at all, but Victor Marks is the dark horse establishment candidate that's being forced in. You guys probably heard me talk about it right after the Charlie Kirk Memorial, because all of our data was stolen, and I was pretty pissed about that. I think I ranted about it a few times on the air, but this Victor Marks guy is like the vaporware of a conservative candidate. And this is actually how I found out who you are. I had never heard of you before. You absolutely bodied him on the radio, and everybody was sending it to me, and I was like, oh my god, somebody on the radio is having a conversation about this. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's the point, is I was interested in vetting this mystery candidate who was just kind of dropped out of the sky. I'm as plugged in, I would say, to Republican politics in Colorado as anybody. The central players, the movers, the shakers, the communications people, everybody. Never heard of this guy. So I'm like, well, wait a minute. We got to vet this guy. This is important. And he was trying to skate by on vibes and feels. And just kind of,
really was.
He wasn't prayers and thoughts. And he's just I don't know. But point being, there's a lot to uncover here. A lot of wacko shit. And like you said, I was pressing him on these wild details about his personal story, history, biography, and he wasn't comfortable. Kyle Clark could be doing a massive expose on 9 News. It would be big time viewers, but they want Victor Marx to win so that he can body Victor when he's the Republican nominee, and it would do the Democratic Party good because that's what Kyle's in it for.
Yeah. I mean, I think Kyle is most likely an intelligence asset.
Oh, he's an asset.
He's incredibly
he's too
powerful.
Smart to be an unwilling asset, like a Jenna Griswold. So he knows.
Oh, I don't know that she's. I don't know that she's unwilling. I think she is unwitting. I don't know if she's unwilling.
Maybe
I think she'll just pop up to the table and do whatever she's told to do. That's her job. In my opinion. Gosh, so 2 sets of passwords. There's 2 sets of passwords. God. Elections are safe because there's 2 sets of passwords. I put one of them on the internet, but it's
on the internet.
That was the other thing. Like the Josh Zeigelbaum. Now I'm just gonna rant at you. So the Josh Zeigelbaum, you are Colorado local media right now.
Okay.
So after the BIOS passwords, everybody remembers this, the 600 BIOS passwords, 600 plus BIOS passwords that were in a hidden tab on a spreadsheet, public on the website, as Tina Peters was, in Mesa County undergoing a trial for how horrible this very idea is. Jenna Griswold had them on the internet. After that, a recording of a phone call was released between Chris Beall, Deputy Secretary of State, and Josh Zeigelbaum, Adams County Clerk, Chris Beall on this phone call says, well, we weren't going to tell the clerks because it would create a media storm. I'm paraphrasing. That's the gist of what he said. I'm going to create a media storm. Where is the indictment? I mean, so then they told us, well, there's no breach. How do you know if you didn't tell the clerks? You can't possibly because they have the machines to which the passwords were compromised. So unless you do that investigation, you can't know if there wasn't a breach. And we weren't going to tell them because it would create a media storm. So we're just going to cover up this massive scandal. And oh, by the way, those passwords were out there during 2 election events, the primary and the early voting for the general election.
That's correct.
And nothing. What happened? She appointed her own investigative firm, her own firm, friendly firm, to investigate. They said, oh, it's scratch paper. It's left in there. But it's fine. Mistakes were made. Nobody knew that you could hide tabs in Excel. What?
I look it up right now and it's literally the same title you say. It says, but they found no ill will in Secretary of State's office leak. Like,
of course
oh
they
my
didn't.
gosh.
She hired.
Go ahead.
But then I'm sorry, Abby, I didn't mean to.
No, I was looking it up to catch up while you guys are talking. I'm like, here we go. They already have the narrative they want you to think about it.
Yeah. And then it went away. and that's so when I say that the system is currently only protecting the appearance of legitimacy,
right?
That's what I mean. They are not legitimate. They're obstructing in a way that if this was an SEC regulated public company, it would be Enron. It would be raids and document shredding and, hopefully no golden parachutes, but let's be honest, they probably all have them. But it's not, it's fine. So,
Well,
go ahead.
The analogy I would use, Ash, because you're kind of going right up to that border of what I'm thinking about, is they're more concerned about controlling the reaction to what this news would mean if the truth were uncovered, to your point. They want to make sure there is not chaos, with the media firestorm, as you put it, that there isn't panic, a reaction by the public. And what does that mirror? That mirrors the control that was kind of placed upon us during COVID, where Dr. Fauci said in a 60 Minutes interview, masks don't do anything. But because COVID was such an unknown, it was so scary, they had to provide a story that gave people reassurance and comfort that if you wore a mask, you'd be okay. There was no truth to that. If you stood 6 feet apart, you'd be okay. There was no truth to that. If you just got the shots, you'll be okay. You won't get the disease and you won't transmit the disease. False and false. But if they were to come out with a blunt force truth during COVID, we don't know what it is. We don't know how it's spread. We don't know how serious it's going to be. There would be widespread panic at the disco, and they couldn't afford to have that. So what did they do? They mitigated the presentation of the story and whatever facts so that, the Subaru drivers in Boulder would be reassured, falsely, I might add, a false sense of security that, well, I'm going to wear a mask, I'm going to social distance, and I'm going to get the shot, all to assuage fears. And I think the same way here with the elections, data security breaches, the passwords getting out there, that controlling the narrative, the reaction to that was the priority. Not sorting out whether there was a problem or not and getting to the bottom of it. No, we want to avoid a media firestorm. So it was done as a firewall, and everybody wanted to buy into it because we're better off not looking. Just pretend you don't see what's behind the curtain, and that's exactly what happened.
It was before the 2024 election. It was before the 2024. It was
Right.
October. It was October 24th, I think, when they pulled the
Right.
document down, and the 28th when it was reported. And so I can't get on board with that's the same thing as what happened during COVID. And I know you're not creating a false equivalency, but it's when we're talking about elections, we're talking about consent. So if we're protecting the appearance of legitimacy
Right.
over the system through which we confer consent, we're in real dangerous territory. And that's exactly what happened. They're protecting the appearance of legitimacy of their own legitimacy, the appearance of we're here with this, with in this seat of power, with the ability to wield all of these authorities over your lives and tell you what to do and tell you can't go out, to your point about COVID, to tell you the all of the power that they were able to execute during COVID was given to them by elections. So when we find out that there's 2 election events, the primary and early voting, where the passwords are compromised, the Deputy Secretary of State says, well, we weren't going to tell anyone because we didn't want a media frenzy.
Yeah.
It's totally fine, though. Don't worry about it. Here's the other thing. So if they don't tell the clerks, I'm like going way down into the weeds now, but it's important. If they don't tell the clerks that the passwords for their machines have been breached, but they tell us that there is no breach, right? That we know for sure. Well, then they're admitting to remote access and remote monitoring, which is something that they've told us has never been able. But nobody will ask the questions about we will, but they'll never answer our questions, right? Like that's, and there's so many problems with what happened here in the 2024 election, but we're still pretending like they're legitimate. We're still wondering who's going to win the midterms, who's going to win the primary for the midterm in the fake election. But hang on a second, guys, elections are fake. Yeah, but don't say that because we need them to appear legitimate. What? I'm sorry, what? Why is nobody else pissed off about this? Right? Like that's kind of the question. It's like, well, we don't want to get canceled. Then we're doomed, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Like, sack the fuck up or we're doomed.
Yep.
It goes to a quote I just heard from that weasel Adam Kinzinger, the former Republican representative from Illinois, who jumped into our business. It's like, stay the fuck out. But he was criticizing Jared Polis for even considering clemency for Tina Peters because of the point you just made. The myth, right? The fantasy that our elections are safe and secure must be preserved and maintained at all costs, even if Tina Peters, albeit ham-handedly, was uncovering some inconvenient truths about security breaches or the potential for those in our voting machines, in our data systems, in our elections. Can't ask those questions. It's exactly right, Ashe, because then you cast doubt. And now Americans have doubt in our elections, and we can't have that. So Kinzinger wants to protect and preserve the mythology behind the elections. And therefore, Tina Peters, she must be the scapegoat. She must serve that sentence. She cannot get clemency because she was asking all the right questions at the very wrong time. And he's just one of them. Phil Weiser, Jenna Griswold, very ironically so in her case, coming out, pushing back real hard against Governor Polis even considering this. Why? Why are they so adamantly opposed to her being granted clemency? That's a question I would pose for everybody that's watching right now.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I know the answer. The answer is because the people that are screaming the loudest, Jenna Griswold, Phil Weiser, Dan Rubenstein, Matt Crane, these are the people that put her there. They're the co-conspirators that weaponize the government for Tina Peters.
Right.
And this is where, so I'm, again, my opinions about this case are nuanced and my own. I don't want her to get clemency. I want the conviction overturned, because the due process issues with the way that her case was tried and gate kept from the jury and sentenced in the end is a weaponization of government. They don't get away with that. But if she gets a pardon or if she gets clemency, they get away with that. And I don't think that she would want that. I know she wants to get out for sure. But I also know that if she was, you brought up Kyle Clark, asking the question, would she lie? Would she lie and feign, what's the word? Contrition, feign contrition to get out of prison? Well, she could have done that all along. They didn't want to take that case to trial. They tried to get, it's my understanding, and I don't have a source I can pull up, but it is my understanding. Sources close to the matter tell me. Anonymous sources close to the matter, granted anonymity because I can't remember who they are. No, I'm kidding. I remember who they are. But that she was asked several times. They tried to get her to settle several times, but she refused to say that she did something wrong. And so they, took it all the way. And then they were pissed, I think, my opinion, based on the information available. They were pissed that it went the way that it did, that they had to bring it in the first place, that the impeachment evidence that was produced led to 3 of the felonies, her being acquitted on 3 felonies. The one time, because it was impeachment witness, they didn't have to disclose it to the prosecution. The one time that the presentation of evidence to the jury wasn't entirely gate kept by the prosecution and the judge, the one time she was able, because of the rules of our justice system, she was able to present evidence to the jury that they didn't gatekeep first. Those charges she was acquitted on. Those 3 felonies she was acquitted on. That should make everybody pause and say, hang on a second. They can gatekeep a criminal trial and give somebody 9 years in prison, and you're not allowed to. They will characterize your intent to the jury, tell them why you did what you did, and then not allow you to defend against that, and then put you in prison for 9 years. That's where we're at. Why are more people not alarmed? The majority of people with platforms here in Colorado are justifying this. Republicans and Democrats justifying that she got what she deserved because she's such a threat to our democracy.
Wow.
No, she's a threat to their power. She's a threat to their power because their power is illegitimate, and they desperately need Tina Peters in prison to project the legitimacy of their power.
Right.
The appearance of legitimacy.
Well, and the question I had for John Case today, and I thought it was a fascinating answer that he gave because he was really threading a needle. And you may have heard this, Ash, is so in order for her to go down that clemency path with Governor Polis, what he revealed to Kyle Clark was, to your point, she would need to show contrition, admit she did something wrong, apologize for the error of her ways. But on the other hand, they're battling this out in the courts, right? And the Court of Appeals seem to be very sympathetic to the harshness of the sentence and the basis of the sentence, which was evidence that was cited by the judge that she was peddling snake oil, that she was a charlatan. But that was not allowed in the courtroom. In fact, the jury was dismissed while the judge instructed the defense that you cannot talk about your theories on the election being, conspired against or anything like that. And yet he invoked that. He invoked that part of it in his sentencing. So therein, the sentence itself is up for question. And what John Case told me was they're pretty confident that they're going to win their way through the courts. So the question is, if you're her attorney, do you ride this out through the legal process knowing that you're in the right and that you might win that way? Or do you need to expedite this, kind of take your medicine, tell Polis what he wants to hear, admit you're wrong when you don't think you're wrong, and then you get granted clemency? I don't know how the lawyers are able to navigate both those paths at the same time, but it seems like John Case and the team there, they're going to try it.
Yeah. I mean, the Polis granting Tina Peters clemency helps Polis the most.
Oh, yeah.
It gets Tina out, but it kind of ends the rest of the matter and the inquiry, which is, I don't believe what she wants.
Right.
But it makes him get to pretend to be libertarian. He gets to be, I'm such a libertarian while I decide to run for nationwide office because he's going to run for president. God help us all.
Yeah.
And I will remind all of you all the time why he's the worst. It's also, though, he's turned our state into such a meme It's such a national punchline, Colorado, that I think he's beyond repair. But he's gonna try because they can't help it. That's what they do. All right, we are going to take a break for a moment and hear from ourselves on soft disclosure.
Legend says, on St. Patrick's Day, a beard without oil is just a chin with ambition. But a beard with soft disclosure beard oil, that's true treasure. Spiced vanilla, naked, smooth as a leprechaun's getaway plan. Soft enough to impress your barber, bold enough to confuse a baby goat. And this boar bristle brush tames your beard like it holds the crown coin. Every bottle is American made, which means when you buy Soft Disclosure, you're supporting 6 American small businesses. That's not luck, that's capitalism with cheekbones. And while you're at it, try our mint green deodorant, because even legends need fresh pits. Soft Disclosure, go for gold. Visit softdisclosure.com and use promo code TINYBRIGHT for 15% off.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. Promo code does not apply to bundle discounts.
Gotta love Tiny Bright. Softdisclosure.com, everyone. Get your tallow, your beard oil, beard brush. Beard oil, by the way, been described as how do they say it? Best anti-aging product I've ever used for my 60-year-old female face. So we're going to come out with a face oil soon, but also it works in a pinch. And the beard brush is
Absolutely fabulous.
Yeah. So a lot of fun though. A lot of fun. And we had Annie from Willow Wind Farm on Alphas Make Sandwiches today. I think, Abby, it is the 1-year anniversary of Alpha making us a sandwich. It is certainly within 1 or 2 days, 1-year anniversary. But when I went back and looked up, because I know it's the 1-year anniversary of what we're going to play here in a second. But when I went back to find that, the same video had Alpha making a sandwich.
Yes, it did.
And for folks
like right before I cut it.
yeah. No, we have a show on Mondays called Alphas Make Sandwiches. It's like a not gay version of The View. And we came about because Alpha said we couldn't do it. And he bet us. And I said, all right, well, if we do, then you have to make us sandwiches. And he did. And that was a lot of fun. But exactly 1 year ago today, for sure, we were in Las Vegas throwing axes. And do you have the video?
I got it. Here we go. See if it opens up here.
Perfect.
I've never heard this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a shovel head.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Watch out. Like the whole time I was thinking about zombies.
Hey.
Bradford here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, Ash. I don't want to mess with you. I want you on my team when the zombies come, all right?
It's the one situation where being not a good.
So the axe throwing trip, not planned. Just an impromptu thing that happens at GART. And we will be in Nashville, April 9th through the 11th. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, I believe it is.
The thing, yeah. 9th through the 12th. From 9th through the 12th, we will be in Nashville. You can see who's there. We would love for you to join us. We're going to be line dancing. We showed Christy's teaching us, and she played a video today on Alphas Make Sandwiches showing the steps. And my earnest desire to everyone that is listening that's going to Nashville is that you learn those steps so that at any moment we can break into a flash mob doing that line dance, because I feel like that would be really on brand for us. So learn the steps. We're going to do that. We're going to do karaoke. We're going to have all sorts of fun, and we're going to have a lot of great conversations and not the same arguments about Bitcoin that we have all the time. I'm over it. We're not.
Maybe
we're
a
not
few
that, but
new
it's gonna be a
ones.
blast. If you can't join us in person, virtual tickets are on sale now through the 15th, and then they go up to regular price. So badlandsmedia.tv/events, get your GART tickets and join us in Nashville in person or virtually. It's going to be a blast. You will not regret it. I promise. So much fun.
Can
I've
I
never
go?
regretted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah, we have way too much fun. All right, I want to shift it to well, actually, first I want to go back to what you were talking about with Gen Z, because I pulled radio metrics, and like you guys have terrestrial radio, you guys have a captive audience. You got everybody in the car, and you said that Gen Z doesn't turn their cars off, and I think that's you've got you can plug in your Apple Music or your Spotify or whatever,
Right.
but according to this was Beauty Matter Radio versus Podcast by the Numbers, they said that 55% of Gen Z listens to the radio in the car.
The radio or like a live app streaming service?
AM/FM. AM/FM.
Really?
Yeah,
That
it's
is
contrary.
shocking.
Contrary to some, here, I'll read all the stats for you.
Okay.
In the US, terrestrial radio still reaches approximately 82 to 93% of adults weekly. Driving remains the core of radio consumption, with 86% of ad-supported listening in cars occurring via AM/FM stations. Roughly 40 to 45% of radio listeners now use smart speakers, facilitating a transition into voice-activated digital radio.
nice.
Play the Ryan Schuiling show, right?
Of course.
Contrary to some assumptions, daily AM/FM listenership among Gen Z reached 55% in the US in 2024.
That's fascinating to me because here I am, 51 years old, and the way I listen, I mean, I'll listen to our radio stations, but not necessarily over the air signal. So you can listen to my show live on the iHeartRadio app, and a lot of people do. Your signal's more guaranteed in most cases to be steadier, not fade out, not be subject to static, all that sort of thing. So when I'm in my car, I've got a mount, I've got a Bluetooth connection, I'm locked into that, and I'll tool around on that. But I mean, this is a
Wait a
radio
second, you don't
host that-
listen. You don't listen to the radio when
It's
you're
ironic, I know, but
He's a radio host that doesn't listen to the radio. I love it.
not the traditional way anyway. So I prefer it. in a
Special
different way.
wants your take on whether or not streaming metrics are much more reliable than the made up estimated listeners. And I have to agree with that question, with the live plus same day times 100 type of times 1000. Sorry, live times live viewers times same day viewers times 1000.
Well, if we're talking over the air, it was a while ago that Nielsen bought out Arbitron. So they do both television and radio metering, and Denver is what we call a metered market. I don't know anybody that has a people meter, but apparently you put them in your car and it attaches and it literally measures in real time what you're listening to and for how long. I'm not allowed to have those by the rules of Nielsen because I'm in radio. I work in radio. So maybe that's why I don't know anybody in my business that they don't have them. But those are pretty accurate logs, as opposed to maybe smaller markets, or back in the old days, you'd have to rely on somebody's memory to fill out a diary. And, you don't remember exactly when you were listening or for how long. You could make it up. These are a little bit more precise, but obviously streaming numbers they're exactly what they are. They're digital. They're registered in real time. They're accurate, you'd have to say, unless somehow you're manipulating the system to get fake bot listeners or something. I don't know if that's
I think people still do that too.
Yeah.
I think
I
they're
think so,
still,
yeah.
I think there's still, I think that we're at still in the kind of upward portion of this transformation to this industry. There is so much that we don't know how it's going to work out. And I think back to, again, like the Napster MGM thing, and how Apple came out with the iPod, and then Dell came out with the Dell jukebox. I don't know if people remember that whole
I do
thing.
not.
There was a period
remember
of
that.
time before we had when we went from cassette tapes, the VHS tapes, to DVDs. There was a whole bunch of tech in between that. There were some cartridges, there were giant Blu-ray discs, there were other things, right? Like the market is going to figure out what's going to happen, but you have to be kind of looking looking ahead. So we talked about briefly talked about smart speakers being one of the kind of emerging technologies that's impacting radio and media in general, but a bigger one is AI. And I wonder like how AI has impacted you, but I want to read this first. This is from the again from the PwC Global Entertainment and Media Outlook. Quote, to a large extent, the adoption of AI in the E&M industry is following the pattern set by previous waves of technology innovation. When companies first embrace it, the new technology is largely used as a cost and labor-saving device to enhance speed and efficiency in back office processes, thereby improving the bottom line and in turn boosting profitability and valuations. There's much greater long-term impact from emerging technology, and it comes when it presents the ability to operate in new ways, create new business models, and access previously untapped revenue streams. With AI, this value creating potential is likely larger than with any previous technology. As more people become fluent in AI tools, it will have an amplifying effect on ingenuity and creativity, and will emerge as a powerful innovation and collaboration partner. And as E&M companies across the industry start to realize this potential through their own advances, they will create more personalized, relevant, and compelling experiences for their customers than was previously imaginable. So the industry analysts and globalists are very bullish on AI's impact on the entertainment and media industries. What do you say, Ryan?
It's happening whether we like it or not. So it's adapt or die again, applied in this arena.
Mhm.
I'm two examples I'll give. One positive and one very ominous and negative. The positive one is, so for my podcast, when I upload them, I used to have to tediously come up with like episode descriptions and think back and who were the guests and what do I type in and, go through that whole process. Now we just updated our software from Spreaker to a new interface, and it generates an episode description based on AI. It generates chapter descriptions based on the input of just the words that are spoken. And it blows my mind because it's fairly accurate. I've got to go back and correct like some proper names, like people's names or towns, that sort of thing. But for the most part, it nails it, and it's getting better. It's improving. AI is constantly learning, and it's very science fiction. The other part of it, the bad example. So back home in Michigan, I have a buddy of mine going back many years who has been an FM radio DJ. And if you're on the air in that capacity, well, your voice is captured and they store it, and there's a lot of it. And there's this gal that he and I both knew that put out a Facebook post that said, hey, AI version of me is now going to host middays and I'm moving in the afternoon. And we're like, dummy, it's going to replace you. You're going to be doing these song intros, and the fake version of you doesn't need health insurance, doesn't need a salary, doesn't need vacation time. And they're just going to plug that quasi-human version of you in, and the audience will be none the wiser. Don't you see the downside to that? And I don't know, like, how do you stay ahead of that? So in my business, based on what I just described with the episode descriptions, this is freaky stuff. Will they be able to capture enough of my voice, my patterns, my intonations, my jokes, things I talk about with Ashe off the air, to recreate a fake version of me to host a talk show? And I think the answer ultimately will probably be yes. And that's very scary.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's a
100%.
Black Mirror episode.
Right.
Joan is Awful is the episode. And it was, I think, the first one of the most recent Black Mirror season. Brian and I covered that on the air because it's exactly that. They have your likeness, they have your voice. You sign the rights away to it.
Yeah.
And I think that, at least in modern times, it should always be consent driven. I think we have the mechanism to capture consent for that. But then again, maybe not, right? Like Melania Trump worked really hard to get the Take It Down Act passed. Excuse me. Because because it's not, it's none of these things are as easy as making a law. And certainly in the digital space, you need more tooling. You actually need AI to defeat AI, right? Like that's kind of where we're at. And that's I think it's really interesting. I think that the individuals in particular, but also the companies that embrace it with their brains turned on. So we're going to use it for tooling. We're going to use it to, like descriptions and things like you're saying, low hanging fruit use cases. But there is, it's getting better AI, but it's still inauthentic, right? Like those AI videos they did, everybody freaked out. What was it was the bite dance. What was the name of that tool? It had like all the Disney and Marvel characters and was creating. Those are compelling. I still get sucked into it, but it's not. I don't know. There's an authenticity thing that's missing for it, and I really do believe that as we get flooded, like before AI, there's too much noise in the communications ecosystem, right? But you take you add AI, and it's like we're up to here just with AI slop and other clickbait nonsense and noise. And I don't know how the kind of the breakout of that is going to be, where the platforms. I think Rumble is a great platform. I think there's less AI slop on Rumble than there is on YouTube. And I think that authentic creators that don't want to be beholden to YouTube, banning you and taking your livelihood because you said the wrong thing, because the government changes hands again and everybody decides that our rights don't actually matter anymore. And we're going to go back to the COVID era of control. I think that authenticity is going to break out as kind of the requirement, and then maybe people will pay for content. Then maybe when there's so much flooding and you just want something real.
I've had a theory that will happen. Eventually, authentic material will be the one that, like, the golden jewel everyone's looking for. Like, this is a song that's actually sung by a person. Because, like, I can tell, I think a lot of people can tell. Like, I love how you call it AI slop. It is. There's something to it. It's polished. It's almost perfect. And it shouldn't be perfect. Or not perfect. Art isn't perfect. And so I think eventually people are going to get tired of it. Also, you're right. The newscape is flooded with all these articles and things. And you can tell they're just done, like fed in, and they're just copy and paste. And it's like, dear God, you're almost looking for someone that's making mistakes or looks more authentic in their writing. So yeah, I think maybe we'll come full circle. I'm hoping.
Well, and so much of the news is there's, 2 facts that are known, but there's 700 words that are generated to explain the 2 facts and provide the agenda and the angle on the 2 facts and keep people's attention and eyeballs for as long as you can on whatever that story is, even though it's, there was a meeting and these people attended. Right? Yeah. Like that's what we know. But then there's like 700 words speculating about what is it going to mean? And are we going to a war with Iran and all of the things? And it's like, hang on, roll it back. What are the facts? That should be the job of true news media is here's what we know. Here's what we don't, right? But the kind of blending of entertainment in there, and then just the hyper politicization of everything. This is the age of Trump, right? I went to journalism school. I have a journalism degree. I know the journalistic integrity principles. They threw all that shit out the window. Not with Trump, with Obama. With Obama, the guy could do no wrong. Any scandal was covered up because you don't want to besmirch the good name of Obama. And then they got comfortable showing that they were controlling the news. And then we got the age of Trump, where every standard, every norm, every principle was sacrificed to get Trump. And it's not because Trump is so scary. It's because Trump is a threat. He is a threat to their power. He is, the Russiagate Grand RICO conspiracy investigation is ongoing. The seizure of election records in Arizona, following the seizure of election records in Georgia, it was a grand jury. Both of those are grand jury subpoenas. These are
really? That's a big deal.
Yeah, and we are closer to accountability than we've ever been, closer to actually having justice than we've ever been, and I'm pretty excited. No,
I'm too. We're just hanging out. I'm just waiting. I have a certain amount of faith for sure of my own in the administration, but I do feel that there's certain things that have to take place that will be done behind the scenes. Like, I'm not somebody that knows all the ins and outs, in the court of law and stuff like that. But if there is like a RICO case going on, like you said, those things can't be spilled out in the public yet. So there is going to be some time where we're like, what's happening? Yeah. But I do like the idea of just reporting on the news. It was funny. I know it's a little off topic, but there was this topic saying that there was a transmission that was received, okay, and that it has to do with sleeper cells being activated here in America. So I was like, okay, what did the transmission say? I track it down to Fox News received it from a source in the federal government. Okay, what did it actually say? What was the transmission? We don't know.
Yeah.
We just think that it was an Iranian transmission. And I was like, this is not news. This is not real reporting. There's no sauce there. So that's what we're dealing with. So, yeah.
Anonymous sources close to the matter. When I was in journalism school, that was taught as an absolutely last resort. And that you also need to have some real sourcing if you're going out with a story based on anonymous sources close to the matter. This is the 1990s. Not that we had real news in the 1990s, but I think we had way closer to
it's probably better
now. Yeah, but now there's they give zero fucks about coming out with anonymous sources close to the matter reporting groundbreaking, earth-shattering, scandalous stories with just anonymous sourcing. And this is to the point of journalistic integrity, right? You can't get it. Once your credibility is gone, once the trust in your institution is gone, damn near impossible to get it back, and certainly not going to get it back with the level of obstruction that we still have. Kyle Clark protects the government. That's his job. He came out with a video the other day. It was like, news is not just saying what the government said. It's like, did you just figure that out, bro? Because that's been your entire approach to news for the entire time that I've known you. And I'm glad that you finally figured it out. I was talking to him face to face at the Mike Lindell trial, and I asked him a question, and it was kind of like a zeroed in narrow question on a fact. And the fact had just come out in the trial, and it was like his face was like the Matrix reprogramming itself. And just then all of a sudden the story changed. It was the Joe Altman call. Were you surprised to learn that there was actually a call? Because I didn't know there was a call. They always told us there was no call, that Joe made it up, right? So all of a sudden there is a call, and Kyle's like, well, there always was a call. What? Like, I was like watching, just reprogramming his face, right?
They're
right
quick.
In front of me.
They're fast.
Out, man. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is that they're protecting the appearance of their own legitimacy. And as soon as we stop believing in it, it goes away. If enough of the people understand that these people aren't legitimate, that they're the stupidest fucking people among us. We are being ruled by the stupidest people among us. Jenna Griswold, are you kidding me? She's running to be attorney general. That crazy-eyed Jonestown Jenna bitch wants to be the law in the state of Colorado. And we're just like supposed to pretend like that's legitimate. And by the way, she runs her own election. I mean, not her, Andrew Klein, because she doesn't actually do anything. But no, it's not real. It's not real. If we had real election, we'd be able to look. We'd be able
that
to
motherfucker is not real. The lady on the plane.
Oh, yes.
Exactly. That didn't need explanation. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. That motherfucker is not real. Jonestown Jenna is not real. She is a fabrication. She was an Obama elections attorney. Then she worked for Hickenlooper. And but at no point can she explain to you how elections work. But we're supposed to listen to her. And Tina Peters is in prison for, lying. That's it. I mean, that's why she's in prison. She's in prison for a misrepresentation. One misrepresentation to 3 people. Conspiracy to do the same makes up 8 years and 3 months of her 9 years. So she'd be done if it weren't for the misrepresentation. And I get it, right? Like, lying is wrong. Jenna Griswold lies to all of us all the time, though. All of us all the time. And they lie to the clerks, right? So in that phone call, you've got at least a lie of omission. Chris Beal admitting, well, we weren't going to tell the clerks because it was going to cause a media storm. So we were just going to tell everybody that there was no breach and everything's fine. That's worse. There's 64 clerks, by the way. So that should be 3.5 fucking years for every single one of them that Jenna Griswold and her office lied to. And every single person involved in covering that up is complicit. That's kind of where I'm at. If you're still helping them cover and project the appearance of legitimacy, you're still helping them because we're all afraid of what comes next. Oh my gosh, it'll be chaos. If we tell people how fake they are, how fake everything is, they'll be really upset. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sucks to be you. You shouldn't have lied to us for so long. But we're not like this. You can't. We cannot have real elections. This is I'll end here, and then I'll give you guys your last word. We cannot have real elections until we are honest about how fucking fake elections have been. Because there has been it's not just the presidency, it's control of the Senate in 2020. Yeah. The Georgia runoff elections used on the same machines that we know now that they knew had massive issues on election night in November 3rd, 2020. They used that same system on January 5th, 2021 and stole the fucking Senate. The ballot measures. We got the unfettered abortion here in 2020, and we got the National Popular Vote Compact, meaning if enough states sign on, we've just overturned the Electoral College without using fake elections.
Hey, well, hold on that point real quick. Had that been in place this past election, Colorado's electoral votes would have gone to Donald Trump because he won the popular vote. You stupid motherfuckers.
Yep.
And I am of a mind that Colorado's electoral votes should have gone to Kamala Harris. But because these people are moronic bastards, they're going to punt their own future away because they're so myopic, Ashe and Abbey, that right in front of them is the only thing they see must beat Trump. But they don't think long game of, you might get fucked by that. And they would have in this past election.
Yeah, but when Trump is so going back to 2020 election, right? And the level of obstruction that happened during his first term, gotta get Trump when you are fabricating investigations or stealing elections is treason. Because one, he's the sitting president of the United States. Two, it's being done in pursuit of foreign interests because he's America first and his agenda is at odds with the interests of globalism. And I forgot what three is, but it's treason. and they're just really Trump deranged. I don't give a shit. I'm sorry for your mental illness, but you can't commit treason. You don't get to steal our elections. You don't get to decide that it's just so bad. Abby, remember that we played that Stephen Cash guy last week? The guy that was like, we fortified the election and, had a bunch of NGOs working behind the scenes.
Oh, yes.
That guy, treason.
Mm-hmm.
Trump's really divisive and he made a lot of people upset. So we need to nope. I didn't get that. J6ers didn't get that. Anybody on the, to the right side of Christy Burton Brown didn't get that. Nobody knows who Christy Burton Brown is.
I don't know.
I do. She's a friend of
mine.
She's just another one that's just happy to be sitting at the table and doesn't have a fucking original thought in her head. All right. So final thoughts. Abby, go ahead and then we'll give Ryan the last word.
I love it. I enjoyed learning more about all the election fraud that has been going on. And it's true, until that's fixed, I'm not satisfied because, I feel like it goes on into even small elections, just fraud and cheating at all levels. So until that's fixed, I'm not going to be satisfied. And we need to be able to talk about it. And it's wild that they don't want people talking about it. So Rosh Lives Matter. I missed it.
Oh, I was looking for, just putting up some of the audience comment while you guys are talking.
But yeah, no, I really enjoy it. And Ryan, thanks for coming on. It's really good to talk to you. And I love your insight. It's rock and roll, man.
Well, you guys opened the show with a song that you wanted to change, but I loved it, White Rabbit. So that's a reference by Jefferson Airplane to Alice in Wonderland. And we are through the looking glass. See what I did there? And we've gone through the wardrobe, another reference to Narnia. And so once thine eyes have been opened, and Ashe has opened mine to a lot because of the hard work that she's done, and I appreciate her so much, but you can't unring that bell. Once we know what we know, and more importantly, we know what they didn't want us to know, then where do you go with that information? And how do you prosecute that case, quite literally, I might add, without getting canceled or, like we talked about before, losing your livelihood, losing your job. I'm on the radio, and I'll say this. I want this to get out there in my closing remark here. I have worked at iHeart for 7.5 years now. They have never come to me on content and said, you cannot say this, you must say this. I've been left to my own devices for better or worse. And for whatever reason, I think I've been able to navigate that path. There are those kind of inhibitors that I mentioned earlier that I impose on myself, just because, like, Ashe was so concerned about being in studio with me. Am I going to get you in trouble? Well, no, you're not going to get me in trouble. As long as people know that I am not responsible for the views expressed by guests on my program. I mean, just like today with John Case, he said some things that were highly controversial that I wasn't sure as to the veracity of them in real time. Really hard to fact check when he throws something out there in real time. But I just let it go because I think the audience, I hope, and I assume that they're smart enough to figure out, well, that might be bullshit. It might not be, but I'll do my own research. I always encourage listeners to do it. Don't take my word for it. You know, it's my opinion. You may disagree, but if you think I might be speaking in fact, then fact check me for yourselves. And I welcome that. See, I welcome that scrutiny. And I think there are many very fragile egos, of course, in this business, be it radio or television, that they really care and are affected by what other people think of them. And where Ashe has inspired me is I am so much closer to giving zero fucks than I've ever been.
Yep.
That it's
That's
really
the best place
liberating.
to
And then
be.
you just do the work.
What
And
a
that's what I'm at.
compliment. That's what I want. I want the whole world to have that experience. And the chat is going off on whether not to vote. And here's the thing. And I've said this since 2020. You have to vote, because if you don't, you're abandoning the battlefield. Don't be a pussy. Don't be a coward. We are not giving these communist fucks all of the battlefields. We're going to fight them, and
the communist
closer
fucks,
than we've
that's
ever
good.
been. We don't believe the outcome of elections. Don't submit to the outcome of elections. And if people decide that they can't vote because they don't want to participate in a system like this, I'm not going to. I'm not going to shame anybody for that. I don't have any problem with that. However, I will ask you, if you decide that you're not going to vote, please still check, because the decision of whether or not you vote, that your decision to not vote is just as important as your decision whether you're going to vote. And a lot of the times, if you choose not to vote, your vote gets voted anyway.
Yeah.
So the only way that gets identified is when people check.
Right.
And this past election, we actually had kind of a push for that. And Maggie Bundy says, Ashe, I'd like you to debate Chris Paul over this, because it doesn't appear that he votes. See, you're making an assumption there, because I don't believe that Chris Paul has ever definitively said whether or not he does vote. And I know that because I have debated him about this several times, and he won't say. That's his decision and his position and his alone, but he doesn't tell other people not to vote. He does say elections are fake, because they are. And it's important that we say true things. Thank you, Ryan, for being here. Thank you.
Thank
Ashe.
you both,
This is
ladies.
amazing.
Thank you. This is fun.
And it's a blast. And everybody, please hit the thumb, the like, the heart, whatever shape the like button is for you on the platform that you're watching. Please hit it for us, because it helps us out quite a bit. We will be back here next week, Abby and I. And remember, everyone, change happens one conversation at a time. So be brave and speak the truth. We'll see you next time.
As the expression goes, be careful what you wish for. In my former life, I was an insider as much as anybody else. And I knew what it's like, and I still know what it's like to be an insider. It's not bad. Not bad. Now I'm being punished for leaving the special club and revealing to you the terrible things that are going on having to do with our country. Because I used to be part of the club, I'm the only one that can fix it. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again. Because you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to take us out. And it's not going to work. Not going to work. Not going to work. It's not going to work. We're just getting started. The drug cartels are waging war in America, and we will destroy the cartels. You have no choice. That's an army. And I'll use Title 42 to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families in their home countries immediately. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom, because I will never let them take away your freedom. I won't. They want to silence me, because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they are not after me, they're after you. I'm just standing in their way. I always will. And I will fully protect and uphold our great and very important under siege Second Amendment. We will protect. We will protect innocent life, and we will restore free speech, and I will secure our elections. We will secure our elections. If we don't, we are a country in trouble. Our goal will be one day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. Very simple. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school at all, pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content onto the lives of our children. And I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. When I was coming down the escalator with Melania, I was already under investigation because they saw how well I was doing in the polls. And it just got worse and worse. And we caught them. We said they were spying on our campaign. It turned out to be true. They had the fake dossier. That turned out to be true. It was paid for by the Democrat Party. It was all fiction. All of these things happened. Impeachment hoax number one, impeachment hoax number two. I've been treated very badly. And I've won every single time. When you say, do I sleep? I sleep. I sleep. Because I truly feel that in the end, we're going to win. I think we're going to win an election the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. I don't think anything's going to stop it. Nothing's going to stop it. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. And every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.